Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to invite you all to this Copilot Studio in a Day event, where we will discuss about Copilot Studio, how to build your own custom Copilots for your organizations, and we will do a hands-on workshop on Copilot Studio. With me today, I have Asif Hussain, who is our practice head for automation, Sai Krishna, our senior data consultant, and Heather, our Copilot expert. So an introduction to Royal Cyber. Royal Cyber is a solution provider company. We help our clients leverage cutting edge technologies like AI powered tools and cloud native solutions to drive digital transformation in their enterprise. We also provide solutions on AI, ML, automation, integrations, middleware, commerce, and cloud. We also help our customers do digital transformation for their enterprises. We are in this business since 2002. We have more than 20 years of experience in this in IT. We have global presence in 15 plus countries, 2,500 plus employees globally. We have 100 plus clients, and we are also partnered with leading IT providers like AWS, Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Google. In today's session, we will introduce a Copilot. We'll see how to plan your first Copilot. We will have like some labs to help you create your custom Copilot. And if there is any question and questions, like we'll be here to answer all of them. So before getting into the the Copilot Studio session, first I would like to say that you should have a license to follow along the workshop. You must have received an email yesterday, which will have information about how to create your access to create your Copilots. With this, I'll pass on to Asif. He will introduce us to the Copilot and see how we can create custom Copilots. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. So I'll quickly start on what exactly is Copilot, and that's the basic question that we always get because it's new technology and people say, what exactly is Copilot? So as per the definition, Copilot is an AI-driven partner that is guided by an individual or an organization to help amplify creativity and accelerate results. Basically, it is a chatbot using natural language processing that can determine and guide and approve outcomes. So it can understand your intention, that what you are talking about, and it can guide you maybe through the knowledge base you are connected it with, or it can get things done for you and perform actions into multiple applications that you want to do. So overall, it is most helpful if the task you're asking for is complex in nature. So the more complex the task, the greater value that Copilot delivers. So this is the entire ecosystem of Microsoft Power Platform that is a low-code tool having Office 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and standalone applications that helps you analyze data, build solutions, and automate processes. And now, with the help of Copilot, you can create virtual agents to transform your business. So the base is, the crux is that it has capabilities of rapid application development. And with this, of course, you can provide solutions faster, seamlessly integrate with your enterprise applications, and using the pre-built components, everything is even more easier and faster. So in today's session, we will basically cover three segments. Here you can see in three boxes. So the first two parts are covered in the presentation, and the last one are covered is actually covered in through the labs. So we'll see in the beginning that what Copilot building basics are, and later we'll move towards that how you can build better conversational experience through Copilots. And of course, in the end, we'll move towards the lab and get things done hands-on. So for any enterprise adapting Copilot, this is the kind of journey, this is the kind of life cycle for it, where you create your Copilot, you build, design the conversation that how it will interact in different scenarios. You publish your Copilot so that users can start using it throughout your organization or your customer base. And in the end, there's a continuous process of managing it by looking at the analytics it provides and improving it through it. So if we go through each step in detail, you create your first bot, you put knowledge base. The easiest working bot can be created by attaching a knowledge base that could be a public website, your SharePoint, anything through which it can gain information from and answer questions to. These can be documents also. You can write topics and actions to be triggered in a certain scenario and get things done for you, to fetch information from different systems or to perform automations in different systems. Once done, you can publish it, make it live for your users, and then start monitoring and improving it through insights. All right, here are some examples that in what scenarios maybe you can use a Copilot, and these are only just a few. So you can think about any of your problem that fits in your organization to help resolve your issues, make your process faster through Copilot. But here, for example, you can see in different scenarios in B2C, B2B, and B2E that how different queries it can answer. Let's suppose in customer service, what it can do, or product and services scenario, what it can do. So there are some samples here that you can take a look at, and you can think about what exactly you may find useful within your organization. So here you can see some of them are plain queries, but others are kind of actions that require certain steps to be done in other systems. All right, now moving to like how generative AI is changing bot building. This graph shows that in the leftmost side on your screen, you can see time spent building topics. So before AI-enabled chatbots, how we used to manually author topics and configure a chatbot to respond in certain scenarios. This step used to be a lot lengthier in the past, while now it has shortened. And we will see on the next slide that how it has shortened. Because of this manual authoring of topics without the help of Gen AI, there was lots of things that were left behind. So you can see on the right side of the graph that there were missed opportunities that bot could not respond to, resulting in escalations to human users or human customer service agents. So despite putting a lot of effort building these chatbots, you were still having a heavy need of human customer support agents to take care of these escalated cases. Now, with the help of this Gen AI based chatbot or Copilot, there is a lot less effort you actually need to put while putting together these scenarios or topics or the things you want Copilot to respond to. And since it can understand through AI your intention, and then it can respond to things, but even while responding to taking information from multiple systems, as it can better understand your query and summarize it better, it is more efficient here. Also, there's a lot less left to be escalated to your human customer service agents, as most of the tasks, without having to do much on the designing side, are automatically handled by these chatbot agents. So that's how it is compared to in the past. A lot was left, and despite having a lot of effort, you had to escalate in many cases to the customer support agents. Now AI can handle a lot by itself, and it's virtually almost nothing or very less that you had to or you have to take to the human customer service agents. So there are primarily two types of queries or two types of actions or things that these copilots get questions about. One are FAQ related questions, like how I can raise a requisition, a travel requisition in this organization, or how I can get myself enrolled for enterprise provided healthcare insurance. Right. These are multiple types of FAQ questions. Or is there a process of knowing who is my manager for approvals in this regard, let's suppose. So these FAQ questions are certain questions that could be answered through, that the bot can understand through your knowledge base and respond to. The other side of the queries could be business integrations. Like if I ask, and answer to that query will change every time I ask, maybe. Because that an example could be like, what are the sales in Chicago region for my last week? Every week I'll ask this question, I'll get a different answer, right? So there's more likelihood that I'll get this question very often by the same user. But if in case of an FAQ based questions, a single user may not ask the same question again in the life, right? So FAQ questions over the time you will see reduce in the frequency, and your business integration questions will probably start very high when people are experimenting that how it does, and will be consistent along the line when everyone knows what it does and people know when to use it, right? So when going through your analytics of your Copilot, better to divide these two types of queries separately, so that you can analyze what type of questions we are getting better results, people are satisfied, people are not escalated, do not need escalation in general, and what type of questions they need escalations where we can improve, and what type of questions, maybe FAQ questions, that are asked once and never asked again. Not because they don't help people, just because people don't need it again. Now, with the help of Copilot, we are able to create AI agents. So what happens is through the Microsoft technology, now we can create AI agents that are capable of doing certain tasks or fetching certain information, and integrated with our Microsoft 365 Copilot. So we can add on functionalities to our existing 365 Copilot. And that's how each agent is capable of doing a certain number of tasks, a certain group of tasks, a subset of tasks. Some examples are given here. So from simple to advanced, how your organization may progress. with time. So this is a fresh concept. It's not just not just a chatbot. It is capable of having integrations with a new terminology that we use, AI agents or agentic AI, that is capable of performing some part of your business operations and can be triggered by Copilot when asked to by the person who can get this operation done. When I say can, I mean who has the permission to get this thing done. And this is how your business operations one by one can move towards this same Copilot over time. So as we saw a dot-com bust early 2000s, every company was just moving towards building websites, and that was a big business those days. Now it is said that this is the dot-com thing of this time, that every company is going towards Copilots. And you know, even every product is making Copilot. SAP has different kind of Copilot, and Salesforce has different, ServiceNow has different. So being many companies using Azure and Azure Intra ID or Active Directory, it's very likely for a company, very easy for a company to adapt Microsoft's Copilot and integrate it with every system they have. So you can see this is a fresh project and over 30,000 customers across every industry are already using Copilot Studio right now. All right, now coming towards a little bit of detail about queries. So on a high level, when we see a simple query, if you ask a Copilot, text medicine WhatsApp. So it looks like a very simple query. Your Copilot should be just texting it. That's it, right? Yeah, for a end user, this is what it will do. But at the back end, what it will do and what flow you may have to design in order to do it could look something like that. Pretty nasty, right? So if I go through the first query that I asked, like text medicine WhatsApp, it will try to understand first. Does it know who's medicine? So it will go through the contact list, try to understand who is medicine. So there can be three outcomes primarily. There is no one with the name medicine. There is one person with the name medicine. There are multiple persons with the name medicine. If there is none, you may program it to ask, there is no medicine found. Can you provide a phone number for medicine? And then it can go that route and go forward from there. But if there is only one medicine, that's simple. It will just go ahead and check if there is only one number for medicine registered. It will go ahead and text that number. If there are multiple numbers, it may ask which number of these you want to text to. And then if there are multiple medicine, it may ask which of these medicines you want to send text to. And if someone chooses through a last name, okay, this is the medicine I want, it may again go through the step in the middle, that how many numbers does this selected medicine have, and go through that. All right, so how generative AI helps in Copilot Studio? There are three basic ways, three basic areas where Copilot Studio utilizes generative AI. First is when you ask a question, it understands it through generative AI, or it summarizes the response taken from different systems through generative AI. That's the most obvious one, right? It can use generative AI to act on the action you asked for. So it determines what you're asking it to do and what sort of automation it can run in order to do that. And you can build those automations also or through generative AI, or you build your Copilot agents through generative AI. When you ask Copilot Studio through a prompt that I want to create this kind of bot that in case of this question will respond like that, it can create a bot around that. So it can help you build a Copilot, and it can help you run a Copilot, and it can help you perform actions through Copilot. So in all three types of categories, it uses generative AI. Now coming up towards the persona of your Copilot, that how you build experience along with your Copilot. So that's kind of your marketing team's persona that you want to give with to your Copilot, and especially in the case if it is a customer facing Copilot. So you can you just better to know your customer, how you want to respond to that customer, understanding the request better, accuracy of the information through which it is creating the answers should be always your prime responsibility. So let's see this, that what are the types of conversation topics that you generally handle through Copilots. One is informational questions such as what is, when, will, why, and that probably is able to get things from knowledge base and answer you. Task completion, you want to ask how questions, maybe how I can raise an access request in ServiceNow. So it can go through against that. And troubleshooting questions you can ask, right? Something isn't working, what I should do. Maybe it needs to create a support ticket against that query. So overall, your Copilot should be cooperative, goal-oriented, fast, turn-based, truthful, and polite. So best practices for a Copilot is understand your user, give a personality to your Copilot that is in line with your marketing and your brand persona. Keep it simple and clear. In case of you need to take an action, it's better to confirm what action you are taking before taking that action. So let's suppose your Copilot understands that it needs to run an automation that will trigger an access request in ServiceNow. Before doing that, give a confirmation. Do you want to do this? Do you want to open a service request in ServiceNow for this? Just don't do it, because if there might be a chance of misunderstanding the context and the intention of the user, and you end up doing something that was not requested, you better avoid that. Use the right tool and be inclusive, right? When you say you use the right tool, it has to be able to determine your flows should be made in a way that it has to go to the right app to get things done for you, instead of opening. If you're tracking service request in ServiceNow and not in Salesforce, do not try to go in Salesforce and put that entry there. A very important tool within this is the analytics it provides. So you can see a screenshot of that on your screen. So you can track the utilization of different queries, different segments of your bots, how it is used, which team is using it in what ways, and you can learn through it. You can enhance your Copilots. You can see where escalations are taking place. So this is how Royal Cyber helps. Before going towards the labs, I would just take one more minute that although Copilot is a very new product, but we already have got a good customer base around Copilot, and we have a good experience on how to leverage through Copilots. So you can also take benefit of our expertise and help us get help from us for developing Copilot strategy and assessment within your organization, where it can be used, where you can get maximum ROI through it. What could be your roadmap? Probably we can help you there. We can help you set up and integrate with your applications. So we can probably give you a push or jump start initially to get a practice within your organization to set up the Copilot and get things on the rolling. We can help you during customization and training of Copilots that you develop or we develop with your team. So for any of these activities, you can schedule a consultation with us. Just contact us and we will help you jumpstart fast. So basically, these are the three boxes we saw in the beginning that we will talk about building bot basics and how we give a persona to a bot and then move towards the labs. So we've already covered first two parts of this session, and the most detailed one is yet to come, that are the labs. Thank you very much. I will ask Sai to be here and continue from here.
Thank you, Asif, for getting us started with what Copilot is and how it works. So before we move on to the labs, I just wanted to give you a heads up and say that I'm assuming that you guys are all ready with the setup, the licensing and everything, so that we can directly jumpstart and go ahead with each of the labs that we have with us. So for more information on anything, you can either go into the CSIID student so that you can follow along with the labs and do it by yourself when at your own pace. And for the product assistance and implementation related stuff, you can do the bottom two links and go over the details. Now, the lab one is mostly focusing on setting up your environment, logging in, having a few debugging things done, and a few test queries run on the Copilot test. So you should be able to log in with your school or work account if you have already signed up. If not, we still have a couple minutes. Just do so before we go ahead in the labs. So with this, you will have a trial license with you, and you can use it for I believe around 60 days before you can extend it or buy it. If you have access, you can just go ahead and build Copilots within a very quick few seconds, like we show now on. So once you log in, you'll have an environment like this. You'll be able to create a Copilot using a simple create button on the taskbar. So we'll be doing that in the first lab. And like Asif has already said, bot building is a very complex process, if not for Copilot Studio. And how this assists is making the building process reduced from scaling down from months to just days and weeks. So you can do everything from the no code interface like Copilot Studio, right from topic creation, which are used to trigger and answer your questions and ask the right sources for answers. So everything is very simple, and even the complex scenarios can be made simplified through Copilot Studio. You'll have responses generated through the latest model of Azure OpenAI, and even you can even embed adaptive cards for interactive visuals. You can have actions done through Copilot. You can have information generated from Copilot or extracted also. If you want to do the same thing through a code-based method, let's say for Azure instance, it'll take months to just author all of this, and then it will take even more to just go ahead into testing and productionizing it. So for today's use case, we will be assuming our role as an AI engineer at Quanto Coffee. So Quanto Coffee is a customer-centric company who manufactures coffee machines, like you see in the pictures. So we are really efficient and we are very sustainably focused, and we have innovative products that serve wide variety of customers. And in the past few weeks or months, our customer base have risen a lot, and we are experiencing difficulties with customer support like any company would. And since the costs are rising on that side and AI is already booming and Copilot Studio is there to help us, we would like to use this to make a customer service representative from us, by us, through Copilot Studio, and help the customers answer their own questions at their own pace through an interactive interface. All the labs are focused around building this customer service rep. Now it's time for lab 1. And before we actually move into the lab, I would like to show you one thing, which is the end product. So like you all will be doing today, what I'm going to do is I'll just log into Copilot Studio. Once I log in, I'll be able to see a lot of my existing bots as well as options to create new ones. Yes. So yeah, like you're seeing here, I can see a lot of existing copilots and even able to create new ones. So let's quickly dive deep into any one of our existing ones. Let's say I have a copilot for ServiceNow. So what it does is it answers questions from our ServiceNow instance, which is responsible for incident management and other ITSM related usage. So we have built this copilot with some actions which are responsible for calling REST APIs from ServiceNow and even generating some responses from that, or even making some actions onto the ServiceNow instance. So such are these actions. We have a lot of them. Uh, like you see, all of these are some of the complex ones that we built out. So most of them can be built out from Power Automate, which is one more tool that we'll be learning in the last lab of today. And with the Power Automate, you have an option to uh, build out automation flows, which can be used by Copilot Studio in return, and can use that responses from the REST APIs or flows that you make and embed that into the generative response that this Copilot can do. So we'll be looking into that and build some interactive and interesting flows from Power Automate today. Apart from that, you'll have other things like analytics, like how your bot is performing, how how the billing is happening, and the conversation boosts everything. So let me go ahead and ask a question. Let's say I want to see how many incidents I have in my ServiceNow instance. So what it does is it has the right REST API that it's embedded within the action. It is able to follow along with us and answer that. Since I did not give any detail on who it is assigned to, let's say I want to say it's assigned to me, or maybe let's say a guy named Fred. So to Fred, there are two incidents, and it's just not limited to number of incidents. We can even ask about the details of incident, like let's say, what is the incident details for, see, if it is able to find an incident, which I typed out in random, but I see it's not able to find the incident because this is a random incident that I typed out, but we can go ahead and do an incident that is actually present in the ServiceNow database and do a detail on that. And if not, we can even ask about something like, I have a lot of enterprise applications with me, and there are a lot of patches coming in every day. And we would like to see like if there are any of these patches affecting the running instances every day. So I can ask like, uh, how are the recent or are schedule patches affecting. So what it does is it has the change request connected to it. It'll directly connect to that and see if there are any of these change requests uh, affecting our connected services. So like you see here, it says that there is an app called My BPM and there are scheduled patches that are affecting the performance of it. And this is also giving more details on how it impacts and where it impacts. So, and it also gives details like performance degradation in the civil software is due to an upgrade that moved to an unsupported DB version from Oracle. So we have to roll back. So this is one of the many uses that Copilot have. Like you can connect into almost every system that supports either an application API connection, or you can even make your own custom connectors that can do that. So with this, I'll conclude my session and we'll start with the labs where you will be able to build interesting bots, something like this, and focusing on customer support for today. And Haider will take on from here.
Thank you, Sai, for demonstrating one of the bots that we developed for ServiceNow. All right, so what Sai showed us was a complex bot that we developed. But essentially, what we'll be doing in these labs is that we'll be working step by step to reach the level of that bot that was displayed. We'll be constructing our solution step by step. Sai, I can't escape from it. Want to escape? How do I change the slide? Oh, minimize. All right. All right. So what we'll do first, I believe all of us have gotten the memo that we need to have our work or university accounts open, university email addresses in order to create the free tier for Copilot. I assume all of us have those and have their free tier access to the Copilot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the link copilotstudio.microsoft.com. And because I already have a tenant account, I am able to get access to Microsoft Copilot Studio. If this page doesn't appear for you guys, this might mean that you still need to have that sort of email address. All right. And you will be prompted to this page which is basically the home page. And the first thing what we're going to do is that we're going to take a deep dive straight in and create our first Copilot. We'll be creating our first Copilot through a conversation, right? So it says here, describe your Copilot to create it. And you can see that I have some of my recent Copilots listed here. You can also start with a template. That's always a good idea when you want to build a Copilot based upon a certain template that's already there. But for tutorial purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to create a very simple bot. And this is going to be a follow along lesson. So what we need to do is we need to have the exact same prompts or the exact same text inputs that we want to enter into the input sections right here. So describe your Copilot to create it. I'm going to describe it right here. So I want a Copilot named Quanto, so customer service. This is essentially for the use case that Sai just described. They want to reduce their customer service cost, and since they've been gaining traction and confidence with their customers, they want to have a service running which will help answer customer queries, help minimize the time that is basically towards the customer call center to cater to simple issues and simple queries. And you can increase the effectiveness and also increase the complexity of the queries. Like Asif said, the more complex the information gets, the better a Copilot responds. So I want a Copilot named Contoso Customer Service. It's an assistant for Contoso customers, helping to answer questions and help with common tasks like checking an order status. I'm going to click right here, and then you'll be redirected to a conversational experience where you can where you can talk more about what you want your Copilot to have, right? You got your reply here saying, great, your Copilot will be named such and such and will assist customers by answering questions. And now it's asking, do you have any instructions for how your Copilot should assist? For example, a specific tone, right? I want us to get familiarized with this UI. Since this is a step-by-step tutorial, on the right, you can see all the parameters which we've entered here. Till now, I've asked it to create a Copilot, right? Which assists with answering questions and queries, right? You can see all those parameters incorporated right here. So this is going to be the task that it's going to do. And this basically item right here, next to the green check, the third one, is kind of telling us about the personality of the Copilot, right? Now it wants us, do you have any instructions for how your Copilot should assist? For example, a specific tone. Do we have any instructions for how your Copilot should assist? For example, a specific tone, right? So right here, I'm just going to copy and paste this right here, and you're going to have enough time to write by yourself, right? So we want our Copilot to have a playful tone. We want it to be joyful. We want it to be customer focused, but at the same time, very professional. This is the tone or the personality element which we want to enter inside of we want our Copilot to have. And in the personality item right here, you can see that you'll see in a bit that changes are made, right? So now it says it uses a playful and joyful tone while remaining professional, right? Now it's asking us whether we want to ground our Copilot based on some certain information, right? For the purposes of this tutorial, I already have it with me right here. And I want it to get all of its information from these two links. So the information should come from link this one and from this link. I'll just click right here. And then you can see another item created here where is basically the knowledge item you can see in the pane. Get its knowledge from this link and this link, right? Right, so it says, great, your Copilot will use the information from these two links. And it's asking me whether or not it should say, whether it shouldn't help with some things or talk about something. So this entirely depends upon, and it's very subjective to each organization or enterprise's use case. In terms of the use case that we're catering to right here, we certainly do not want our Copilot to be comparing products. Like when a customer is querying us about comparing our product with any competitor product, we certainly do not want to be doing it as it's against ethics. So what we'll do is we do not want to discuss other brands like Fabricam, and we never want to provide product comparisons with competitor technologies, right? This is something that we do not want our Copilot to do. And this is like sort of a personality element. So you should see all of these parameters updated in this tick box, right? Right. So perfect. We're all set. It all depends upon you, whether you want to add more parameters to your Copilot, whether you want to be more specific with its personality. You can always chat more in the conversational experience, and that will build upon your Copilot. But as for now, we're set. The only thing which I want us to do is to click on the three ellipses in the top right corner of the canvas and click on Edit Advanced Settings. From here, we just want our Copilot to have a specific schema name that we know what we can remember. So I'm just going to write here BOT. It's going to be our Quanto, so bot. Right. And then we just click on save. We'll go into the details of why we want to create a schema name later. We just want to be done with this and click on create. So this will set up our Copilot. For new starters, this is going to take 1 or 2 minutes, but as you keep adding more Copilots, the pace of it creating a Copilot
active
fairly increases.
Yeah, I know. Redfin, yeah. Khalas, we're looking, we're not rushing, so we're just taking our time. That's about it, yeah.
Should I start?
Just scrolling.
Okay. All right. So sorry, I was on mute the whole time, but right. So in this Copilot, you can see that in the overview page, we're directly directed to the overview page of the Copilot that we just created, right? One thing that I want you guys to do is to click on the test button right here. This will just unpin the test window. We'll cater to that later on in the future labs. But in the overview page, you can see a summary of all the data that you fed in, the knowledge bases that you entered, which you want your Copilot to ground its answers on, and some of the topics that were automatically created during your Copilot creation process. And in the actions, you can see like we don't have any actions yet. We'll be creating actions later on, and we haven't published our Copilot yet, right? So let's just go over the UI of this whole window. Let's click on knowledge. And if you want to enter more knowledge, you can just click on add knowledge here. It can either be a public facing website like we entered, 2 of them which we entered. And you can also connect your Copilot to enterprise websites like ServiceNow or SAP, Jira. You can get all of your Confluence data from here. That's like all your documentation data, et cetera, right? So this is the knowledge section. Right now, we've fed it only 2 public-facing websites. Apart from that, some of the topics that are already created for us are under the Customs tab, right? These are the custom tab. These are the custom topics that were created for us by Copilot. And some of the default topics that are already in the system of the Copilot are right here, right? We'll be delving into these later on. Topics are an essential part of a Copilot. We haven't created any actions. We'll be creating actions in the coming few labs, but we'll be certainly using Power Automate, and actions are certainly like some of the tasks you want your Copilot to complete on your behalf, like fetch some data, go in and sign in, or send email from your side to some other person you want to send. Like actions like these, we can automate using Actions tab using Power Automate, right? Apart from that, so we're done with overview, knowledge, topics, and actions. Let's go to the analytics page. This is where all of the metrics of your Copilot will be displayed. Currently, this Copilot hasn't been published, so we don't have any metrics as yet. You can see there's no data, there aren't any graphs generated, but we're redirected to the summary page directly, where we can see some of the metrics right here. So the total sessions are essentially the sessions. But what is a session? A session is basically something that is created when a user interacts with a chatbot, starts interacting, and ends when a user either a resolution ticket is resolved or whether a conversation end has taken place. An engagement rate is essentially the percentage of sessions that triggered a topic and or triggered an escalation, right? The resolution rate is the percentage of sessions that ended with a resolution, that ended with a conversation end. And the escalation rate is the percentage of sessions that ended with an escalation ticket being raised to higher ups. Abandon rate is essentially the metric, which is the rate of session, the percentage of sessions which were abandoned after a 1 hour period. And this figure, right, this number right here, CSAT, which is basically customer satisfaction number. It's a number from 0 to 5, but it basically is based on the surveys which customers fill out after they have interacted with the Copilot. So it bases its score on those surveys, right? And channels. So channels are all those landing pages or websites where you want to display your Copilot, or apps where you want to display your Copilot, right? You may want to make a Copilot for Skype or Facebook or any other enterprise, Microsoft Teams, GroupMe, etc., etc. We'll be publishing our Copilot in the next lab, so channels would certainly be a thing which we will be looking more further into. And then let's look into the Sessions tab. When you click on it, you'll be referred to this page. And on the left, you can see all of these items. So we'll start with Copilot details. This is where you can change your Copilot name. You can name it whatever I want. Let's say I name it Quanto Customer Bot, right? I can go ahead and change its icon. I won't right now. I'll just go through all of these items. So let's click on Generative AI. Let's see what it brings. So in this, you can basically choose your Copilot to either behave in a classic manner, where it's using topics, triggering those topics and grounding its answers based upon those topics, right? Or you can either click on Generative, and it's in a preview mode. So Generative behavior basically uses dynamic chaining, where it can steer multiple intended prompts, and it basically steers or maneuvers through conversations based upon its own concepts, right? Or its own way of thinking that is built into generative AI. And then how strict should the content moderation be? This is a very useful feature since most of the companies, they want it to be highly precise and want to reduce any hallucination. This is something, but this portion right here is from what we can select our content to be moderated from. In the security channel, you can manage authentication, right? You go into the authentication panel, you can have no authentication. This is when you want to share your Copilot with somebody without them having to authenticate, just to gain feedback from that person. You can select from any of these three. authoring canvas, we have entities. Entities is an important part of the Copilot. Some of them are predefined here. So what is an entity exactly? Let's say I go to a drive-through of Starbucks and say I want to order a coffee, right? So the sentence that I've just said, you can break it up as entity and intent. The intent being like I want to order, and the entity being coffee, right? So some of these entities have already been fed into this Copilot, and you can see a lot of them right here. You can also create your own entities tailored, fitted to your organization, and they may be in any number. This is a very big feature of the Copilot, and we'll be discussing this further after this lab finishes. Scales are basically external frameworks around your bot which you've built, and whether you want to utilize those skills in a Copilot, in your Copilot, you can add them right here, or whether you want to use your Copilot as a skill for your Azure robot that you've built using Azure Bot Services. That is another thing. Languages. So the primary language which Microsoft Copilot Studio supports is English. Be aware that a Copilot that you create can only support one language at a time. So if you create a Copilot in English and you ask it prompts, any prompted based in French, it won't give a highly accurate answer. And then language understanding. So Azure Copilot comes out of the box with something called natural language understanding. Natural language understanding is something like it's a branch of AI which helps machines understand natural language, right? And in the Azure Copilot, it comes with it out of the box, meaning it's already incorporated inside of it, right? But some companies may want their own LLMs to be on the back end of their bots. So you can manage that setting right here. You can manage it and add your own language model, whatever you want to use, right? I feel like we are pretty familiar with the UI, and in our second lab, we'll be creating our Copilot and our first Copilot topic and testing our Copilot there too. So I feel like we should end lab 1 here, and I'll be meeting all of you after lab 1 in about 10 to 15 minutes. In about 5 minutes. All right, 5 minutes. Please let us know if you've got any questions. You can unmute and ask your questions.
So here information and knowledge are the same thing, or?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Information and knowledge are the same thing. First step, as a part of first step, we have provided the information URL, right?
Yes, yes.
So is this same as the knowledge and URL?
Yes, basically.
Same as the knowledge?
Yes, exactly. What you're doing in here is you're feeding it information based upon that URL. What the Copilot does is that it goes into that URL, it indexes out all the data, which is essentially information at the end of the day, and it grounds its answer based upon the information that is inside that link, right? So if I just go into that link, I'll have this. Let me make sure I'm not muted again. Okay, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Right. So yes, if you go into that link, it's going to take you to the page where it's using that data to ground its information from. So yes, you're right.
And what are the information? What are the type of information we can provide? For example, this is the one thing URL.
Yes.
And
right.
just like PDF, we can upload, right? PDF, we can upload another REST API. How to connect the REST API as a part of knowledge?
Right. So you can give it add knowledge. Click on add knowledge.
Add knowledge.
Right. Yep. So right here. Okay. Right here, you can add like multiple stuff. You can add public facing websites like we did. You can upload files from Microsoft from your
local.
own folder,
Yeah.
SharePoints. You can use the Microsoft 365 Dataverse, and you can connect enterprise websites here. Like you can, if you want, you can connect your Azure SQL to it, so you can give it structured data. And through these connectors, what will happen is that all of the data that is contained inside the Azure SQL will be indexed, and the Copilot will be basically able to fetch that information easily, right? Probably in a vector database. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So and the limitations are not with respect to this connectors. These are all like pre-built connectors. And if you want to have, if you have your data in like in a source which is not mentioned here, you can still create your own custom connector. And you can pull the data from your source, and you can ground the data to the Microsoft Graph. So you can see on the left side, there is a custom connector over there. So that is something that we have created.
Right. You can see the connection names right here, some of the custom connectors that we've built. Yep. So you can, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want with regards to knowledge base, and having the ability to make your own custom connectors is a very big bonus. Right.
So there's a question from Jason. Jason.
Right. There was a question from Jason. I believe he still has. Yep. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, I just want to know the relationship between topics and knowledge. I can understand that the knowledge, basically, whatever the bot answers, that has to come from the knowledge base that you provide. But what is the topic? How does that control the conversation? How does topic interact with the knowledge that you provide?
Right. So how a topic works is that it works on a specific trigger, right? The Copilot, that the knowledge that you fed to your Copilot via that link is all indexed, and it's in Copilot's repository. You can think of it as a big repository which it has, right? And the topic works based upon a specific trigger. Whenever it's triggered, the Copilot will look into the database or the vector database that is built, and instantly get all the information to your question based upon that.
I see.
Or Sai, if you want to add more upon that.
Yeah. One thing.
So what if the question asked did not trigger any of the topics that's predefined? What will the bot do?
So can you repeat the question again, Jason? I'm sorry.
Yes, of course. So what if the customer or anybody is a user of the bot ask a question that is not defined in the topic, defined in topics, but it exists. The question, the answer exists in the knowledge base. What happens then?
So yes, there is a functionality for that. So inside the settings, if you enable generative AI, it will search through the knowledge base even if the topic doesn't have any of that. But if you're not running with generative AI and if you're running on classic mode, then you would have to define your own custom topics with trigger phrases that will trigger that and then use this knowledge. So knowledge is like your repository of data which you want to use, and topics are the way to orchestrate your responses and go through the individual knowledge sources or multiple of them based on your need.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
That was the break. Okay.
So were you guys able to create your first Copilot?
I missed few steps. I was not able to create it completely. The PDF document you have shared have all the details, right? How to?
Yes, we've shared the doc. It has all the details, and you'll be able to just follow step by step from there.
And what is the importance of what is the significance of creating the what was that? You created the schema, right? Yeah. What is the? You said that you're going to tell at the end of.
So a schema, is basically the title of the data that is being stored in it or fed to it, right? So at the end of the day, it's more of like ChatGPT. Whenever you want to use OpenAI's ChatGPT to get some body of text from a prompt that you entered, what happens is you always you either use Postman to get the schema, right? But you
Yeah.
have to have the schema name in order to get that schema from it. You have to know the schema name in order to retrieve the data from that specific chatbot. That's what's the significance of it.
So is it related to entity, and where is the entity role comes?
No, it's entity is essentially something in natural language, entity and intent basically. Entity is essentially a thing, or you can think of it as the object of a sentence, right? If I
Yeah.
say, it's the object of a sentence. That's what an entity is. Let's say I say I want to order coffee, right? I want to order would be my intent. That would be understood as the intent by the Microsoft Copilot, and coffee would be the entity that I would be referring to in my intent using the sentence. And that would be caught as an entity by the Microsoft Copilot. That's what that is. So it's basically related to natural language. We'll be discussing that more in our second lab. But if you have any other questions, please shoot.
So all the data, whatever you interact in a Copilot, gets stored in the Dataverse. So tomorrow, if you have an issue with Copilot and you want to debug, you raise a ticket with Microsoft and they want to debug it. So they just go against that schema and see like what happened in the
Okay.
Copilot and everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a login mechanism as well.
Okay. Got
So I
it.
have one final question about the publishing, because I see that you have lots of channels. One of them is custom. One of them is custom website.
Right.
So I think this probably is the most common use of it, because you want to use it inside within your own website. Will you cover the how to publish the bot to the custom website, to a custom website, or if you have any information how to use that channel?
Yeah, we can share you the information about how to publish it to a custom website. So the common channel what we see today is Microsoft Teams. Most of the organization use Microsoft Teams as a medium of communication. The second will be like a Slack bot, right? So so these are the two main ways, like we deploy the Copilot to, and most of them want the others want like a custom website or like a separate portal altogether where they can use the Copilot.
Okay, thank you.
So at which suppose we have to add the new attribute to the entities. So how we are going to decide that we need to add a new entity, or what is going to be a criteria,
Right.
a scenario?
Right. We'll be going through this in lab number 2.
Okay.
You just have to wait for 5 more minutes. We'll be
Yeah.
taking a deep dive into that. I believe that once we go through that, once we go through lab 2, most of your questions will be cleared out.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Can we go to the lab 2?
Yes, we can start off with lab 2 now. I believe I'm not right. I'll grab one. Yeah.
So do we have any desktop version of Copilot, or just it's online?
I believe you do not have any desktop version of Microsoft Copilot Studio. May come out in.
So you
future.
can create Copilot in 3 different ways. One is using the Copilot Studio, what you see now, like copilotstudio.microsoft.com. The other one is using Azure AI Studio. And the third one is using your Microsoft Teams itself. There is a Copilot Studio within the Teams where you can create your Copilot. But 3 of them like have the pros and cons.
Which one is recommended?
If you are going to not change your large language models behind the scenes, if you want to go with OpenAI, then Copilot Studio is better. If you are a person who want to keep changing, trying out different models, then Azure AI Studio is better. And if you're going to develop a Copilot where your primary channel is going to be Teams, Microsoft Team Copilot Studio is better.
Okay.
So does that mean that you can actually use a different model in like a sort of a public model with the Azure AI Studio to build a
Yes.
Copilot as well?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, great. Thank you.
Which one is used widely? OpenAI one or received one?
OpenAI one is the widely used one. So we have a lot of customers who are using Copilots which are developed in Copilot Studio. And if you have like a lot of customizations, then it is recommended to use Azure AI Studio. As you see, like, the level of customization we can do in Copilot Studio is very limited because it's a product by itself. If you have like a lot of coding that needs to be done, Azure AI Studio is recommended.
We are going through the OpenAI one, right? Copilot.
Yeah, today what we are going
okay,
to develop is on the Copilot Studio, so which is OpenAI behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's continue. So right here, these are some of productivity tips for you, for those who are starting off. You can refresh. So you can refresh the conversation between tests. That's what we'll do later on, right? Right. So the Copilot creation process. So what you do first, this figure depicts very accurately how a Copilot goes through a development process. So first you sign up for Copilot Studio and create a new Copilot. Then you create new topics. After you create topics, you basically test it out with a conversation. You publish it and send it to your peers for review, or you just make it openly available so that you can get more metric data. You measure your Copilot's performance using those metrics. You revise it, and then do the exact whole process again. That's how the development process for a Copilot takes place. It's pretty simple and it's pretty intuitive. So this is what I was referring to when I was talking about intents and entities, right? Let's take a bit and understand what natural language understanding is. So like I said, it's a sub-branch of AI that deals with making natural language understanding models. So before, what used to happen is that let me discuss what natural language understanding for a bot. Why does it matter for a bot? It matters for a bot in a way, in the matter that it helps it understand natural language. It helps it understand how we talk, right? So before, what used to happen was that developers used to create these complex lists of entities and intents, and then they would make an NLU layer and attach it to on the top of their language models. That's how that would be the model they would feed their bot, which would be talking to the end consumer. There was a lot of development that went behind it. But with Copilot Studio, we have natural language understanding that comes right with it. It comes out of the box with natural language understanding. Comes equipped with this feature. So with natural language understanding, a bot can break up your utterance into two parts, right? It can look into the topic or the intent of your sentence and the entity. So let's say if I say, what's the weather in Orlando? What's the weather? This bit would be my intent. This is what would be used to trigger my topic, right? And in Orlando, this would be the entity that would be used up by my topic. And further down, using actions, we can actually retrieve data from a specific app or an API and give the customer the required information with regards to the weather in Orlando. right? So entities and intent. Entities and intent. And intent and topics are exchanged together, so with each other quite frequently. So don't be confused about that. We can say an intent is essentially a topic trigger. So the Copilot Studio comes with English as its native language. It supports many other languages, but like I said, at one time it can only support one language. As you create your Copilot, it comes with 4 to 7 user topics and 8 system topics, which we'll be discussing later. In order for, and topics are, what are topics basically? Topics are basically conversational paths that your chatbot takes when it's interacting with an end customer, right? And the way topics work, the way a chatbot should work is that it should maneuver between each of these. It should maneuver its conversation according to the triggers that you input or the utterances that you input. So it should maneuver using these topics and get you back the exact information which you need. We'll be using the canvas to create our first topic, and we'll be using the test button right here. It should look like this on your Copilot Studio canvas. Let's look at some of the best practices for writing a topic trigger phrases, right? So a topic isn't triggered until you explicitly define what a trigger phrase would be for a topic, right? When we're building a topic, we should have it very clear in our mind what the goal of our topic should be, right? So if let's say I want to make a topic where I want in which I want to retrieve the latest order made by a customer, right? In order to cater to this topic, I want there to be a specific goal and scope for the topic. I would start with 5 to 10 trigger phrases. I'll be doing that shortly. So you should have 5 to 10 trigger phrases, like what is my latest order? That can be one trigger phrase. Or the second trigger phrase would be my latest order, right? Another trigger phrase could be when was my latest order placed, right? Any of these trigger phrases, you can notice one pattern in it. These are semantically different, and this is what you have to do in a very active manner. You have to make them semantically different in order for the chatbot to have more context when it's selecting that topic to answer the user's query. And you also have to know, basically, when you're creating a topic, you should be familiar with the tone, and you should be familiar with what jargons or texts or words your customer uses, right? That's how you build and customize your Copilot. And you should avoid any trigger phrases that are highly ambiguous among different topics. But writing good trigger phrases using similar words that your end customers will use is very important in building successful Copilots, right? This is essentially a figure where you can see multiple topics, but they are basically scenario based. So in a post-sale scenario, you will have, you can build a refund topic, you can build a return/exchange topic, you can make a price adjustment topic, and in a checkout scenario, you can have these as topics like tax, payment, address validation, shipment, browse products, etc. Right? Like I said, we need to have a goal defined for our topic. We can't just simply go in and write whatever. It has to be very goal centric. Otherwise, the Copilot wouldn't be able to pick up or trigger that topic without a certain specified goal for it. This is just content about trigger phrases. I'll be going on that shortly, right? Let's move swiftly towards lab number 2. Right, creating a topic with our Copilot. So lab number 2. Let's start hands-on again. And what I want us to do is I want us to go back to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, right? I want you guys to go to the homepage and click on the Copilot that we just created. In our case, it's Quanto, so customer service. And what we want to do in the beginning, essentially, is let's see some of the topics that are already present. So you do that by clicking on the Topics tab inside the Copilots panel. So some of the custom topics that are already there is this goodbye topic, is the greeting topic. Let's look at the greeting topic, right? You can see some of the trigger phrases that have been that will trigger this greeting topic. Good afternoon, good morning, hello, hey, hi. You can add more to these phrases using this click edit button. You can edit them at your in your time. But as soon as you say something like hey, hello, hi, it'll initiate this message, and this message will display. It says, hello, how can I help you today? Let's ask it something along the lines of this. Let's say I say morning. Now, this was more similar to these phrases, and which is why this topic called greeting was triggered, and the conversation flow happened to this message where it says, hello, how can I help you today? Which is displayed right here. Right. Awesome. But this is generally like how topics work. You need to have a trigger, and then you can build a whole flow based upon that trigger for a certain topic. Let's go ahead and create our first topic. All right. So what we have to do is go to the topics tab again and click on add a topic. In the beginning, what we'll do is we'll just create a topic from blank, and then we'll create a topic using description with Copilot. And you'll see how significantly our time is reduced, right? So let's say I want to make a topic to check my order status, right? Some of the trigger phrases that I would want to write here would be check order status. I would also want to add order status, question mark, or just plain order status. Or a customer might ask, has my order shipped? They might also ask, where is my order currently? Right? I also have some that are written triggers, right? So yep, they can also say, where is my package? I just wrote that. So these are some of the phrases, trigger phrases that our topic will be triggered on, that I just wrote right here. Right. Let's name our topic something. Let's name it by clicking right here in the top left corner. Just click on here, and you can name your topic check order status. After you do that, let's familiarize ourselves with the UI of this whole canvas right here. Okay, so on the top left, we just looked at the title. We changed the title. In here are the canvas controls, right? You can either zoom out or zoom in. You can use the hand tool, you can use the selection tool, etc. Right here on the top of the canvas, you can see the Copilot button. Here is where you can edit your Copilot using generative AI. You can add functionality to it. You can use variables. You can also use, so what are variables essentially? Variables are something that you can retrieve from a customer when you're interacting with them, and I'll do it right in front of you in a bit. My topic checker basically checks for errors inside of your topic if there are any, and reminds you that you should correct this before you go in and publish your Copilot. In the detail section, if you click on it, you can just name your Copilot, which you can name right here too, but this is something like formalized. You can display something and give it a description, right? In the more section, you can look at the analytics. Like I said, we haven't published this already, so we won't be doing that. But this whole block you see here is called a node. Right now, we've created a trigger node. So if a customer asks us, check order status, we want to retrieve basically data about what they're referring to exactly, right? We want to gather as much insight from the customer as possible. So we're going to ask the customer question. And when you're asking a customer question, they're going to respond to that question. And that response will be saved with us inside a variable. So how do we ask a question from our customer? We'll do it right here. Do you see the plus icon right here below the node? Just click on that. You add another node. We're going to add a question node right now, and we're going to click on ask a question. And for the sake of simplicity, let's ask it a simple question. Let's ask our customer a simple question. What do you want to do with your order? Right. And I want to identify the entire response of my user. So I just click on that. And whatever the customer responds with will be saved inside this variable called var1. You can go ahead and rename this to customer for just response bar, right? Click out. Now you can see we've renamed the variable. So I also want us to unpin this test pane. Just click on test and it'll just remove that pane, right? So once we get our response, again, for the sake of simplicity, I just want to, after I get my answer from my customer, I just want to display a simple message. And for that, we'll be creating a message node below the question node. So click on plus again, and then click on send a message. And right here, we'll write, thank you for your message, for your question, let's say. And you can personalize your messages that you display to your end user by using variables. Right now, for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to go in and just display this message. And as soon as this message is displayed, we want our conversation to end. How do we do that? Well, you just click on this plus icon again to add a conversation ending node. You can do that by scrolling down to topic management and clicking on end conversation. Now this just ended the entire conversation. When this topic is now triggered using these trigger elements, if any of these elements are entered or something along the lines of these are entered, a question will be asked by the chatbot. When the user answers the question, that question will be saved in the response. We can do anything with this response, essentially. We're not going to do anything right now, but after the user responds, we just want to display this message. Thank you for your question, full stop. And that will end the conversation. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to click on save. So this will save our topic. If you guys have been following along, and if you've created this topic successfully, you just created your own custom topic for your Copilot. Right. So now that we've checked or created our topic, let's go ahead and test it. Right. We'll go to the top right corner of the canvas, click on test, and click on refresh. what this will do is that it will engulf all of the topics that we created alongside all the other topics that are already present. It'll look for any updates, right? You can see a message that is already present here. It says, hello, I'm Quanto customer service 1. A virtual assistant, just so you're aware, I sometimes use AI to answer your questions. So this is essentially a topic that is generated automatically, and it's a system topic. It's called conversation start topic, right? It's generated automatically. What I want you guys to do is click on these 3 ellipses, and there'll be a thing called track between topics. Just activate that, and you'll see the magic of it right here in a bit. So I'll go in and say hello. After I type in hello, using the track between topics option, now it's able to go and view and display the topic that it went into, how it was triggered, using how it was triggered, and how the conversation flow happened. Because I said hello, it triggered this topic. And it just replied back with, hello, how can I help you today? So I'm going to ask it a question about my order. I want to say, I want to check my order status. Right. Using my utterance, it identified my intent and the entity, right? It went into the topic that I created and asked me a question. What do you want to do with your order? Right? That is what we developed the question node for. I'll just say, I'll just reply, I just want to know about its status. And then it just says, thank you for your question. I mean, this would not be an ideal chatbot to publish, but for the sake of simplicity, again, it works, right? It works. You can add a lot of stuff in here. You can use the responses from our customers and use it to make dynamic message nodes, right? So the final thing of lab number 2 would be to publish our Copilot to our demo website. That was the end agenda of our lab number 2, right? So what we're going to do is, in order to publish it to an endpoint and for any person to view, we would have to remove any authentication in order for anybody to access this Copilot. So we go into settings and we check whether we have any authentication. So we go into security tab, click on the authentication, and right now it says authenticate with Microsoft, right? We don't want any authentication for our purposes. So what we'll do is we'll click on no authentication and click on save. This will help us publish our Copilot to our demo website. So this is the configuration which we're going to save. Again, this is not best practice, but for the sake of this tutorial, it suffices. Right, so we don't have any security now. We're going to go to our Copilot again from the Copilots pane. Click on publish in the top right. We're going to click on publish again, and this is going to take some time. It's going to go in and check in on the errors, whether there are any errors in the topics that are currently active. If there are any errors, it will not publish the Copilot, and it will ask us to correct those errors before we publish it, right? So the green check mark says your Copilot has been successfully published. How do we check it? Well, you go to the overview panel and you scroll down to see the published Copilot status. We published it 5:39 p.m. Central Standard Time, and just click on the demo website link that it created for us. Right. And this is our Copilot embedded into a demo website that is, of course, hosted by Microsoft. So what we,
A quick question on this. If you're is in that chat part of the demo, could you include some sort of like data, even like an Excel spreadsheet or something, where it looks at like order and status or something like that, and then order one, it's like busy or something like that? Could it just do that?
I don't think so. Like you have to add that to the knowledge base. You have to add that Excel sheet to the knowledge base. It actually accepts structural data and can index and look for that specific thing and answer based upon it. But just like, I mean, I understand what you're referring to. Like in OpenAI, ChatGPT, you can actually paste your Excel spreadsheet and you can ask questions about it.
Right.
But for this Copilot, for the custom Copilot that we created here, I don't think you can do that. Maybe there's an added functionality in the future where you can do it. But that's a really good question. I actually didn't think about that.
No, but like, let's say if you pull or if you point to like a database, and then you have this order status like questionnaire chatbot, then is it able to pull it? It should be able to pull in from the actual database, right?
Yes, essentially yes. If you provide all the directions to that database, either through links or through security in the knowledge base, yes, you'll be able to do that.
Can't we copy and paste the data from the Excel there to the just like we shared the URL? Can't we do the copy and paste?
So you're saying that you want to copy and paste your Excel data into the Copilot chat?
Just like we shared the URL, right?
Yes.
Information URL.
Yes. Yes. So basically, I don't think it can do that effectively because this Copilot we are building from scratch. You would have to turn on dynamic chaining and other elements, which would basically help the Copilot go to the specific link. But it's always best to provide those beforehand so that your Copilot can answer consecutively if it's asked questions again and again related to that link, right?
Okay. So what is dynamic chaining? Dynamic chaining means it will keep refreshing the info, refreshing the link over the time, or what is the dynamic chaining?
Let me go back to where I discussed it. So I go to settings and I go to generative AI, right?
Yeah.
So there are two ways our Copilot can interact with people. It can either interact in a classical sense, right, where it uses the topics you built to respond to trigger phases, and it grounds its answers based upon the topics that you created, right? Right.
Yep.
But there is a generative way to do that as well, where AI or generative AI responds with the best combination of actions. It responds with the best combination of topic and sequence changes.
Okay.
So it isn't going to, in a generative way, it's not going to the exact top. It's not going to go to the exact topic where for which we provided the trigger phrases, but it's going to maneuver through different conversational paths in order to provide with the best answer. But I think Alex can add on that.
Yeah. So basically, when you create a Copilot, right, and you have like multiple topics under the Copilot.
Yep.
So if you don't have a dynamic chaining, what happens is it will look for the exact trigger phrase and try to pick a topic which matches the trigger phrase. With generative, with dynamic chaining, it's going to apply like generative AI on top of it, and it will try to find the best topic based on the context of the discussion and try to trigger that topic for the discussion.
Okay. If we select the generative option, then we do not need to define the topic.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But if you have that turned on, so that means that the flow is meaningless, right? So you don't need to define the flow because the bot is not going to follow the flow at all.
Yeah.
So in what cases we use the classic and in what cases we use the generative? So
So
I have one use case. For example, suppose we have employee leave policy document. Okay, so in that case we can use the generative AI, right? Generative option. And wherever is the conversation is involved, we can use the classic. Is that true?
Right.
Or
Say for example, if you have a document, right? If you have a PDF document and you want your bot to be answering questions from the document, then you can use like generative AI, which means like it's going to understand the entire document, and whatever question you ask, you don't have to
replied
create
on
a
the
topic.
yeah.
It will by default answer you. But say for example, you want to place an order for a laptop in your organization, right? So you have a ticketing system, right? You
Yeah.
want to take a user to a particular flow where you provide the required mandatory details, right, for the API endpoint, and then like once you submit, it is going to create a ticket for you. So then you need to have like a particular topic which will take the user through like a flow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
And suppose the information, suppose the information URL which we have provided, okay, it's a keep updating. All right. For example, whatever the information URL initially we have provided, and for example, some XYZ company, and they are keep updating that URL. And then how the Copilot is going to refresh that information inside the schema, right? It would be there inside the schema, right? So how the refresh is going to happen based on the information URL? Yeah.
Right. In case of using a API, we will have to update the Copilot with the latest API information. It doesn't know like
API is fine. API is internally there is a fixed number of information. I mean, there is a fixed number of URL which we are going to face. But for example, in case of web URL where we have all the document details, description, everything is there, and someone is keep updating and adding the details to that page. And suppose we have used that page as a part of information URL. So how the information will be refreshing on the chatbot side, this chatbot side?
Right, I'll answer that. So what happens is, so the first time where we inputted the link as a knowledge base, and when the Copilot was created, it basically it indexed all of the data that was the text data that was present inside the website.
First time, yeah. This is first
time, yes.
Yeah.
Now you're saying, what if the website is refreshed and some of the text changes? Well, the simple thing to do for an organization is to have scheduled publishes for a Copilot, right? I feel like websites aren't refreshed refreshed on a weekly basis. I would say if they're refreshed on a weekly basis, even we can schedule publishes, and what the Copilot will do is that it will automatically go to that link again and re-index all of that data again and answer based upon that. So that's one way to handle that.
So all the data are preloaded. So at a design time, or at a runtime, how does that? I understand that, this is basically an extension to the Power App platform. So Power App, you have the refreshing. You can schedule this. Can you schedule the refreshing of data with this?
Yes, we can. So there are two ways you can ingest data to a Copilot, right? One is using a graph connector, and the other one is using a API. So whatever you see here is like kind of a graph connector where it will pull the data on a sequence, on a schedule, and push it to the Microsoft graph. So anytime you ask a question, it is going against your Microsoft graph, try to find an answer from the graph, and it's going to give you an answer. So the downside of it is like you have to create there is like it's not like a real time, it's a near real time, but like a not exact real time. So that's graph connector. Now most of the organizations expose data in the form of API. right? So you have access to the APIs. The APIs are going to have like a real-time data. You can use that information. You can use those APIs for your inside your Copilot to answer like some of your questions. So which will be like more, real time.
I see.
Yeah.
So can the refreshing to the graph connector like be set up somewhere?
Yes,
because I don't see.
it can be set up. Everything is configurable. Like how frequently it has to keep crawling the data. Everything is configurable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Does it
some of them,
actually-
say for example, if you don't want to crawl your data and you want your data to reside in your application but not inside Microsoft Graph, that's when like most of the organization take the API route, so that the data resides inside your application and is not pulled over, and you can use APIs to connect to that.
I have a question. Is there such a limit to what kind of information we can feed to Copilot? Like if we have a large data set document. I'm talking because we work with, for example, clinical notes. There are many of them, they are large, and I wonder if Copilot is able to handle this size of data.
If you're talking about graph connectors, by default, like when you see knowledge base has a limit of how much of data can be loaded into the Microsoft Graph. But if you're using a graph connector, you pay for the data you use. So there is no limit on that. So the more data you use, you have to pay more.
Even for the training, like the training counts as usage, or?
The license cost in Copilot is not with respect to training. It is the number of generative messages generated by the Copilot.
Yeah, so we can train it on large, and that would have been like not chargeable as whatever actually the published version the user consume. Is that the part that's going to be chargeable, right?
Correct.
Okay. And one more
There's
thing.
no training though. There is no training. It's the same model. They're not training. It's a RAG. It's a graph-based RAG.
Yes. It is a RAG. There's a bit of prompt engineering involved in this, but not like a training. If you want to train or something, then you need to use Azure AI Studio.
I was talking about fine tuning, not just. I'm talking about the knowledge base, whatever you want to call it. It's that's not the chargeable part, right?
Yeah.
And also, like I know Copilot can work with tools such as Power BI, which is mainly structured data. Is that still the case? Can it actually make the join between different entities or tables, considering the join would have been with a primary key that's not something that is, for example, it's going to be integer or some other code? Will it be able to make this kind of join between different entities or tables?
The Copilot within Power BI is a separate entity altogether. It has nothing to do with this Copilot Studio here.
So this Copilot is not able doing this such connection between tables as in Power
That's
BI.
correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have like 7 more minutes left in this session. If you guys have any questions, we can talk about that. Or if you guys have any use case that you would like to build in your organization, we can talk about those use cases. Some of the common use case what we have or we go through with the customers is like to integrate like more than one systems in the Copilot. For example, ServiceNow or Salesforce that need to be integrated, and teams need to be like a medium of communication to talk to these applications. For some of the examples that Sai showed, like how many tickets were opened by me, like, what is the latest ticket, describe about the ticket. And say, for example, if you have a knowledge base in ServiceNow, you can say that, okay, this is my ticket number. provide me a solution, and it will be able to provide you a solution, and then the Copilot can also go update the ticket with the solution that was created. Like if you feel like the solution provided by Copilot makes sense, then you can go update the ticket with the resolution notes provided by Copilot. It can be like a two-way communication as well, like not necessarily always like a one way of communication, like just ask a question and it provides an answer. It can also perform some actions as well. We see a lot of clients trying to use their Copilot as a medium of communication within their organization, and they specifically want to get integrated with applications like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday. Yeah, and we are also developing a Copilot for a ceramic tile company, where we integrate it with Agile Point, BMC Remedy, SharePoint, all these applications. One of the key issue it is trying to solve in this company is like they have users around the world who use Teams and have like different medium of different language to communicate. So the Copilot which we created was helpful enough for those kind of communications where your language of communication is different between like so many people. Any questions or any suggestions? And also we have series 2 of this session. It's coming up in November. So if you guys can sign up, we can help you there as well. And also like if your organization, like within your team or something that needs like a separate attention, and you have a group of people and who wants to get trained on Copilot, we can also help you there. Okay, thank you all very much for your time today.
Thank you so
very
much.
Sure, it was a great session, and hope to see you all soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.